Convocation to order. It's Wednesday, August 13th, 2014. We're in the Community Center in the Sierra Room, 851 East William Street, Carson City, Nevada. Note, the Carson Area Metropolitan Planning Organization is pleased to make reasonable accommodations for members of the public who are disabled and wish to attend the meeting. If special arrangements for the meeting are necessary, please notify CAMPO staff in writing at 3505 Butteye Way, Carson City, Nevada 89701, or comments at carsonareampo.com, or call Patrick Pittinger at 775-887-2355 as soon as possible. Requests are required prior to 12 p.m. on August 11th, 2014. For more information regarding any items listed on the agenda, please contact Patrick Pittinger, the Transportation Manager, at 775-887-2355. Additionally, the agenda will be, with all its supporting materials, posted on the CAMPO website at www.carsonareampo.com, or is available upon request at 3505 Butteye Way, Carson City. Let's start off the agenda with item A, roll call and determination of quorum.
Chairperson Fierro.
Here.
Vice Chairperson Smolinski.
Here.
Member Bonkowski. Member Erb.
Here.
Member Kimbrough.
Here.
Member McKenna.
Here.
Member McQuarrie. Member Van Havel. A quorum's present.
Okay, thank you. Item B is public comment. Members of the public who wish to address the MPO may approach the podium and speak on matters related to the MPO. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per person per topic. If your item requires extended discussion, please request the chair to calendar the matter for a future MPO meeting. No action may be taken upon a matter raised under this item of the agenda until the matter itself has been specifically included on an agenda as an item upon which action may be taken. Is there anybody here today from the public who'd like to approach the MPO? Yes, ma'am, please. And state your name for the record when you get up there, please.
My name is Christine Allman, and I am here to ask possibly if something can be done between the crosswalk that goes from the Nugget across the street. My father was the one that was hit there 2 weeks ago, and he got pretty well beaten up. And I spoke to Patrick about it, and he asked me to come today. And all I'm asking for is there any way to maybe get some kind of a light on each side of the street, just, anything to let the public know, to be a little bit more aware of the crosswalk. I mean, not everyone, actually, I've driven from one end to the other end, and I counted approximately 30 crosswalks, and that's incredible. But this one, I think everyone in this room has probably walked across it. And to me, it's a personal matter, and if anything can be done to possibly get a blinking light, anything would really be helpful.
Okay. Patrick, is that something that we can put on next month's agenda for discussion, or for, if possible, maybe an action item?
Well, and honestly, it's more appropriate for the RTC, the Carson City RTC. But yes, that is definitely something you put on the agenda. We do have a couple of we have a couple other locations in town that have pedestrian signals at the library and on Stewart Street. And as the speaker indicated, I have spoken to her a couple of days ago and notified her about this meeting, and told her we'd look into what options we have and what they would cost and the like at that location.
Okay, so
and
would
I can do that and report back.
Would that be better to be put on the RTC and they can decide? Yeah,
that's fine. I can put it on the RTC agenda for next month and inform the RTC of what we found looking at the crash history and talking to law enforcement and our options from an engineering perspective of what could be put there.
John, did you have a comment?
Just for your information, what's going on here. Our first meeting is CAMPO, which is basically we go from middle of Douglas County all the way up to the middle of Dayton. Then the next meeting that starts right after this is the Carson City portion. It's called the Regional Transportation Committee.
Oh, okay.
And that's what Patrick's mentioning. What I'd like to do is just take your comments and put them into the RTC minutes by reference, so you don't have to stay if you don't want to and say it again. we'll just incorporate it. And then Patrick is in charge of that agenda, and he'll put it on the next agenda, so it'll be a month from now.
Okay, so I'll be back. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anybody else from the public that would like to address CAMPO? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to item C. For possible action, approval of the minutes. C1 for possible action, action to approve the minutes of June 11th, 2014 meeting. And hopefully you all had a chance to review those. Was there any corrections? All right, then can I have a motion, please?
I can.
Yes, you can. Anyone can approve the minutes, but I move to approve the minutes of June 11th, 2014.
And do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of the June 11th, 2014 meeting. Is there any comments? Hearing none, call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Abstain.
And one abstain. Item D, agenda management notice. Items on the agenda may be taken out of order. CAMPO may combine two or more agenda items for consideration, and CAMPO may remove an item from the agenda or delay discussion relating to an item on the agenda at any time. E, disclosures. Any member of the MPO that may wish to explain any contact with the public regarding an item on the agenda or business of the Metropolitan Planning Organization. Are there any disclosures? Okay, then we'll move on to item F, which is our public meeting items, and we have F1 for possible action to determine the selection of the Federal Transit Administration FTA 5310 applications to be submitted for funding in the CAMPO planning area. Staff summary. CAMPO has received 2 applications requesting FTA 5310 funding. CAMPO will determine which applications will be selected for funding and the amount of funds to be awarded out of the total available.
All right, I will take this item with Graham, the transit coordinator, as my backup because he's the one that frankly did most of the work on this. 5310 is a funding program from the Federal Transit Administration, which is relatively new to us. MAP 21, the last transportation bill, which is approved for 2 years, actually made it so that while the 5310 funds used to only go to the state of Nevada through NDOT, now they actually have portions set aside for each urbanized area. So a portion was set aside for last fiscal year and for this fiscal year to be used in the CAMPO area. Last year, this was the still developing program, shall we say, and the funding was used entirely by the JAC transit system to provide support for operations of the JAC system. And it was a desirable thing because you get a better match than regular Federal Transit Administration funds. However, just as we completed the process last year, more guidance came out regarding this, working with FTA, working with the Nevada Department of Transportation Transit Section, which this member Van Havel works with. And basically what came out was that we needed to open it up to applications within the CAMPO area to other eligible applicants. So that's what we've done. We followed a process working with NDOT. Basically, the money will still go through NDOT like it was before, but CAMPO has the ability to select which entities get the money. There were 2 applications submitted as a result of the process. The first one was by the Carson City RTC to once again assist with operating funds for the JAC transit system. The JAC transit system actually does have sufficient funds to operate. This is only desirable because it is a better match. And that submission was for the entire sum. But the Carson City Fire Department also submitted an application for $50,000 to acquire a vehicle which is used to transport individuals. And it is handicap accessible as well. They have other vehicles, but they do need to replace and at times expand, I'm sure. And given that those are the only 2 applications, there's not enough to fund all of them. But my suggestion from staff is that given that the Jack Transit System did receive all the funds last year, and even if the fire department does receive full funding, it still leaves a significant amount of funding for the Jack system. So my suggestion is that CAMPO may take action to fund the fire department project with the remainder of the funds going to the Jack Transit System. And if you need any more information about the fire department application or their use of the funds, Deputy Chief Terulli is here. Hopefully answer any questions. I'll stop and take any questions myself if you have any.
Okay. Is there any of the board members that have questions? Chief, did you want to get up and address the board, or are you fine?
I have a question for Chief anyway.
Oh, you have a question anyway, so will you please approach the podium, and when you come up, just state your name for the record, please.
Thank you. Tom Terulli, Assistant Chief, Carson City Fire.
Thank you.
Chief, on the application, I think it's on, I guess, page 8, under vehicles/buses requested. It's checked. Maybe it just needs an explanation. It says 3 ambulatory with 2 wheelchair, or. Is that, I thought you were asking for 1, but it looks like it says 3.
Yeah, I asked the same thing of the fire chief. I thought, hey, 3 of them for 50 grand, we should get more. The idea is it's how many people can sit and how many people can ride in a wheelchair. So it's 3 passengers and 2 wheelchairs, or you put 2 wheelchair folks in there with some aides or family members or assistants or nurses.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Is there any further questions? Okay. Then at this point, it'd be good to have a motion, if anybody would like to make a motion.
I'll make a motion for item F1 regarding the FTA 55310 funds. I motion that the $50,000 goes to the fire department and the remainder to go to CAMPO.
Excuse me if I may. I just want to clarify something in the application, the fire department application, correct me if I'm wrong, they're requesting, well, they need 50,000 overall for the vehicle. 40,000 is in FTA funds, and then the extra 10,000 would be their match. So they would only need 40,000 of the FTA amount.
Thanks for that clarification.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
All right. I revised that motion to grant the 53010 funds of $40,000 to the fire department and the remainder to go to the RTC. Or not the RTC, but CAMPO.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Is there anybody from the public that'd like to speak about this? Sir, please come forward.
Good evening.
And your name for the record, please.
Mike Reynolds, Mobility Manager for RSVP. My question would be, if you obtain that vehicle, who's eligible to ride in it?
You have to come back up so we can get it on the recording.
The riders will be those who are patients or people that are being transported or treated through the CTH hospital program to and from clinics.
CTH, what would that be?
Carson Tahoe
Regional
Health.
Hospital here.
Correct.
Only to the hospital?
From nursing home to the hospital, from the hospital to the nursing home, from the hospital back home to their care, to other treatment facilities, to get other treatments, cancer treatments, blood work.
To what locations? Just the hospital there?
It will be anywhere that's attached to the hospital within their infrastructure. So if you had a family member that's ready to go home and they really couldn't go in a taxi, and they also don't really need to go in an ambulance, and they are able to sit up, we would take them in the van back to the nursing home or even back home.
To any other hospitals out of the CAMPO area?
We could take them from one hospital to another, sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Does that answer your question, sir?
Yes, sir.
John, did you?
Tom, before you sit down,
Tom?
before you sit down, just explain how the program came about. This used to be part of, Carson City used to transport people by ambulance. It costs $1,200, $1,500 to transport somebody in an ambulance. They didn't need an ambulance, so the fire department bought some vans with city money. They entered into an agreement with the hospital, and what happens?
That's true. Like I was saying, each day we have, each of the vans come on duty, and they get a schedule of when they move their patients that are from the hospital. And so they would take a patient to a cancer treatment, to other treatments that are associated with the hospital. And sometimes patients are ready to be discharged, and they have no means to either get home, either they have some type of injury or illness or had some type of procedure done in which somebody wouldn't take them in their taxi. And we certainly don't want to put them in an ambulance. It would be a very expensive trip for a ride home or back to the nursing home or back to their home. So the wheelchair van is probably the most economical way to get them either to treatment or back home or back to a nursing home.
Also, this would make it so that ambulance wasn't tied up.
That's correct. This has taken quite the burden off the ambulance. We do probably 170, 180, 190. We move that amount of people each month. That would have gone in an ambulance, and I'm not saying they would have done that, but try to get that person into a taxi, knowing that's not the right thing, it's not the right treatment, it'd be very uncomfortable. And so this is kind of like the middle ground, not good for a taxi, certainly too expensive to put them in an ambulance, which may not be available. The wheelchair vans have been very useful.
John, did you have a further question or statement?
I'm under the impression that this has a wide geographical range, Incline Village possibly.
That's correct, 150 miles.
So, is there anybody else that has any further questions or comments? Once again, anybody else from the public? Then I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
We'll move now to item F2, which is for possible action, to approve the proposed CAMPO Federal Fiscal 2015-2018 Transportation Improvement Program, also called TIP. Staff summary. Staff has finalized a proposed TIP for federal fiscal years 2015 through 2018. Is this you, Patrick?
Yes, this is me because Dan's on his way back from a conference. So once again, somebody else really did all the work, but I'll cover for him as best I can. Frankly, there are no substantial changes to the document in front of you compared to what was previously shown to this board. This is a listing of all the projects using federal funds and others that were added voluntarily that are transportation related in the next from fiscal year 2015 through 2018. However, there are two changes that will need to be made to this document and that we will make before submission to NDOT and the Federal Highway Administration. One of them is that, let me make sure I find the project, the fifth project from the top, project CC034, which is entitled Carson City Signal Modifications and ADA Intersection Improvements. Just today we had a meeting with the Nevada Department of Transportation, Safety Engineering, and local public agency staff. And the federal share is still correct on this, but the local share is actually going to be $75,000. I can reassure you that we're okay financially on that because a lot of it's going to be what we call in-kind contribution, staff time of doing design work, construction management work. We're not actually, the RTC is not actually going to produce $75,000 in cash. So we will make that one change. And then the other change is that we do have the 5310 funds that were discussed in the previous item on the agenda. There is a project in here for the 5310 funds, which is basically a carryover from the previous year. We will need to add a project now that reflects the award of the funds to the fire department for that vehicle. That will have to be added in here as well. We will do that before submission to NDOT. Those are the two changes. The amount of money for the intersection improvements and the 5310 distribution. Other than that, I have no comments.
Is there any questions from The board? Okay. Does anybody from the public have any questions? May I have a motion, please?
I move to approve the proposed CAMPO federal fiscal year 2015-2018 Transportation Improvement Program as modified.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the transportation plan with the modifications. One more time, anybody from the public? Seeing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Oppose? Motion passes. All right, item G, internal communications administrative matters. Future agenda items.
Unknown at this time, but the odds are higher we'll find something before next month.
Okay. Item H, board comments. Status reports and comments from the board members of the Carson Area Metropolitan Planning Organization Board.
Yeah, I have a comment. Last month, I talked about the status of the federal funding situation. In the last month, literally, there was an 11th hour agreement out of Congress to extend the Federal Transportation Authorization Bill, or known as MAP 21, through the end of May of 2015, and they approved appropriation of some general fund money to keep the transportation account solvent through the end of May. So we're good through the end of May of 2015. After that, hold your breath.
How's the repairs and modifications to Highway 50 going?
I heard today that there have been a couple of hiccups, and I believe it was generally related to weather issues, but overall it's progressing and it's still on schedule.
And if I might add, we, the city, are very appreciative that we've been able to benefit from materials that were taken to our landfill that we're going to be able to use for beneficial purposes. The grindings that came off the road, half of them are supposed to go to Lyon County, that are half to us. So I hear we've already gotten our half, and thank you very much.
Then we'll go to item I, which once again we have public comment. So members of the public who wish to address the MPO may approach the podium and speak on any matter that's not specifically included on the agenda as an action item and allowable under the open meeting law. Is there anybody from the public like to approach CAMPO? Okay, last opportunity. Seeing none, we'll move on to item J for possible action, adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you. And the RTC meeting will start in 5 minutes. Thank you.
Transportation Commission for August 13th, 2014. It's Wednesday. We're in the Sierra Room. I call it to order. It's about 5 p.m. First item on the agenda is roll call and determination of a quorum.
Chairperson McKenna.
Here.
Vice Chairperson Smolenski.
Here.
Commissioner Bankowski.
He's sick.
Commissioner-
Excuse me, he's out of town.
He's out of town, yes.
Commissioner McCrary.
He's sick.
Commissioner Kimbrough.
One, here.
Okay. A quorum's present.
Thank you. It's time now for public comment. If anyone has anything they wish to address the commission, please come forward. Don't see anybody moving, so we'll close public comment. Next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes of June 11th, 2014. Now, folks, let me just explain one thing about open meeting law. There's 3 of us tonight. A quorum is 5. It takes 3 votes to pass anything. 2 votes will cause it to fail. If you want the minutes to be on the next agenda, that's fine, but we try to get our minutes on as fast as we can, and this is June 11th, so that they're a month old already, so I'd prefer to pass them, but we don't have to. So I need a motion and a second.
I have a question.
Okay.
I have to abstain since I was not at the meeting, correct?
We'll ask the attorney.
That's correct. You're probably going to have to carry this matter on the minutes over to the next meeting.
Joe, I asked the AG, Mr. Taylor, that same question. He said it's okay to vote on a meeting you weren't at on the minutes. So somehow we had a discourse. Because I voted on the first ones because I was informed that you're not voting that you know the content of them, but you're voting to agree with them. So that may have changed since I talked to him, though.
No, that I appreciate very much. I appreciate very much that clarification. George Taylor knows the open meeting law like the back of his hand, and if that came from George Taylor, and in any event, even assuming this was erroneous, it would really only require thus a do-over in effect. So given what you've said, I agree wholeheartedly that you go ahead and although Jim was not present, can go ahead and vote in favor of approving the minutes.
Also, we can put this on later if we want future agenda items, but Patrick, can we get it clarified as to when you can vote, when you can abstain? Because I'm also under the impression you could never abstain unless you have a conflict of interest. So we might need some open meeting law primer for this organization. I'll entertain a motion if, I don't want you to feel forced though, because I have no problem putting these off for another month. That'll be September.
That's fine.
Okay.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of the RTC meeting of June 11th, 2014.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the meetings of the minutes of June 11th, 2014. Any public discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It carries unanimously. Next item on the agenda is item D, agenda management notice. Items on the agenda may be taken out of order. Anybody want anything pulled from the agenda or taken out of order? Anybody in the public wish to have anything pulled or taken out of order? Seeing none, we'll go on. Next item on the agenda is E, disclosures. Any member of the commission may wish to explain any contact with the public regarding an item on the agenda or business of the commission. I would like Patrick to introduce our new member who was appointed last meeting, but he wasn't here, so this is his first meeting.
Well, I don't have a prepared speech, but I'll tell you what I know. Mr. Mark Kimbrough was appointed by the Board of Supervisors to fulfill the term set to expire in December, previously occupied by Mr. Jim Mallory. I don't know enough about your full background, Mark, but I will say that I've personally served with Mark on the statewide Transportation Technical Advisory Committee meeting. He was a long-term member, I believe, of the State Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee. He's done many good things. I know he's done a lot of work up at the lake, and he's also served on all sorts of good groups, like the ones that select projects to get funding for transportation alternative program funding monies. So you can add whatever you like, Mark, but very happy to have you.
Anything, Mark? Okay, any other disclosures? Thank you. Next item on the agenda is item F1. It's first action or public meeting item for possible action. Bid for, go ahead, Patrick.
Okay, item F1 is to award a contract to Intermountain Slurry Seal, Inc. as the lowest responsive and responsible bidder for the 2014 long line striping program. This is the same program as we do each year. We only had one bidder. It was somebody who's worked for us in the past. We were happy with what we got. It was slightly over budget, but we have evaluated it, and we do have sufficient funds to pay for this, and this is really a necessary undertaking that we do every year. We regret that we didn't get this out a little bit sooner in the year, but we're assured that they will be out there and working. And I'll just note that this is one of the several key components to our citywide striping program. It's actually a multi-pronged effort. This is long line striping, obviously center lines, skip dash lines, double yellows, the like. Our staff has been doing a lot of crosswalk striping around town and symbols and the like. They do a wonderful job. Just yesterday, I was called out to Mark Twain Elementary School to talk to them about relocating a crosswalk. So we've got that going on before school starts. And then additionally, the next item F2 you have is going to include the slurry seal program. And I'll just note that they're very closely coordinated, because the long line project that you see in front of you then does not do the striping in the areas that are going to be slurry sealed. They have to be coordinated so that you've got one contractor striping most of the city, and then the slurry seal project comes through and they do the striping as part of their contract. So I just want to give a little overview on how this fits into the bigger picture of making sure that our roadways are safe to navigate.
Any board member have questions?
Short question. Is 10%, it looks like 10%, is that the normal contingency? Just that was education.
Yes, it is.
Can you explain to us how we can accept a bid that is higher than you thought it should be, and where the money's going to come from, this magical pot?
It's not all that magical. As you folks are aware, and for Mr. Kimbrough's information, we are now, the way it works is that the RTC fund is funded from fuel tax revenues only. The the streets fund is funded by a combination of fuel tax revenues and sales tax revenues. We now have the ability legally, we didn't have a few years ago, to transfer money between the two accounts, because we can use RTC money for street maintenance. We were actually able to determine that we had a higher fund balance at the end of the year in RTC than anticipated, and those funds can be used to go over to the streets fund and fund this overage. So while it is regrettable that it is over, we're comfortable as far as the product that we're going to get, and that we will make it through the year okay financially.
So we have to do it. What's the timing of when we have to do it? I assume we have to get it done quickly?
Yes, we need to get it done quickly. The last year's striping is a year old, and we do work at night, so we want to make sure that we have temperatures in order to do the work as well. I don't have the inspector here, of course, but I know last year we were trying to do some night work, and I know they were hoping to pursue some again this year. So yeah, that's the pressure for the time, is that the old striping is getting old and needs to be refreshed.
Patrick, is there certain corridors that they're going to be working on initially, or has it been prioritized already?
Oh, we're pretty much doing the entire city. I mean, if there's a center line down the road, we're doing it, except if it's already going to be done as part of that slurry seal project. And I don't believe we have any significant changes. Actually, in recent years, we have actually added some striping in locations. For example, last year, Edmonds Drive became a double yellow instead of a single skip striping. So that's a little more painting than previously, but I don't believe we have any significant changes like that planned for this year.
Is there any concern, the fact that we only got one bid, or is this, I mean,
I don't want to speak out of turn. I mean, it's traditionally this company has done in the past, and I can't speak for the other potential bidders, of course, but maybe that was a reason for a lack of trying on their part.
so there's nothing that we have to worry about contractually by just accepting one bid, modifying our funding source to pay a little bit more, and
And the one thing that can give you comfort is that we have used them in the past and they have had done so successfully. If this was a company we've never heard of before, you might be a little more worried.
but there was adequate advertising of the need and all that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we followed all the procedures appropriately.
Okay, I'll entertain public comment if anyone has anything. Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion or more comments. I will make the motion on this one, although it's not normal, I will do it.
I can't.
Or you can, okay, go right ahead.
I move to determine that Intermountain Slurry Seal, Inc. is the lowest responsive and responsible bidder pursuant to NRS Chapter 338 and to award contract number 1314-213 2014 Longline Striping Program for a bid amount of $156,569.30 plus a contingency amount of $15,656.93 for a total not to exceed amount of $172,226.23 to be funded from the Street Maintenance Fund, Long Line Striping, and Street Repairs accounts as provided in fiscal year 2014-2015 budget.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion by anyone? Public? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It carries. Next item on the agenda is F2. This is a contract to award a contract for street maintenance project.
This is me as well. This is the annual slurry seal street maintenance project. It actually consists primarily of type 2 slurry seal, but with also some microsurfacing involved. Microsurfacing is what we use on the arterials and collector streets because it is slightly thicker and it sets up faster. You can drive on it sooner. The area of town that's being done is one that has been receiving crack filling by city crews. We have a crack crew that goes out and blows out the cracks and fills them in with sealing material in the cracks, and we've done that intentionally ahead of this contract. Now we're going to be, I think hopefully they finished up. They were going to work right up to where the contractor's coming. The contractor is ready and willing to go. I want to point out that we did get 4 bids on this one, which is good. We do have sufficient funds in the streets fund to pay for it. And one thing for you board members that were here, remember last year we did that East 5th Street bicycle and pedestrian project from Solomon to the freeway. We did add bike lanes and sidewalk there. There was supposed to have been a micro paving as part of that project. It could not be done last fall because we didn't have the temperatures to do so, but we were able to complete that project with the promise that we'd come back this year and do that micro paving. If anybody's driven that lately, it looks like it could really use it. So we're happy to say that that is included in this project to take care of that.
Patrick, so Sierra Nevada, are they the one that did the 5th Street?
I wish I could remember. I'm sorry to say, but
you did answer my question, because that was one of the questions, was because we needed to do that micro
Yes.
Is it microsurfacing?
Yes, we need to do the microsurfacing for sure, because that was part of the.
And so it
original
is included in this,
Yes.
in this bid?
Yes, it is. And generally speaking, the geographic area that actually is included in the geographic area that we're doing anyway, which is starting on the map of the central eastern portion of town, and also east on Fifth Street, the area that's around Eagle Valley Middle School will also be receiving slurry seal. And once again, I will, just in case you're going to ask it, I will admit we usually like to get this out a little bit sooner and get it going in July. Unfortunately, it didn't come together by July, so we are going to be doing this during, while school's in session, so we will be sensitive to that, and we do have traffic control costs built into this to make sure that we keep accommodating traffic. And finally, we'll, if anybody from the public is watching, we just ask people to be as accepting as they can of the delays that are there, and to please avoid driving on these roads immediately after being slurry sealed, because each year we do encounter folks that drive on it, and it's not a pleasant experience. So please avoid driving on these roads when they're blocked off.
About an hour ago, maybe a little bit more, they put up a sign at Hell's Bells and East Fifth, or actually it's on Carson River Road, saying that they're going to do construction, and all the little call before you dig lines are on there. It looks like they're going to start the sidewalks that go down Hell's Bells.
Yes.
Is this going to interfere with that?
Well, the projects, yeah, that is a separate project that has been marked out, and that they will be coordinated with this project. That project is only scheduled to take about 3 weeks to complete, so we'll make sure that we coordinate between them.
So we're going to slurry seal first and then put the sidewalks in, or we're going to put the sidewalks in and then slurry seal?
Ideally, you put the sidewalks in first.
Just checking. Okay, go ahead. Mark, anything? Anybody in the public have anything? The other question I have about this is, when I look at these bid documents, I assume they're right, but it's for example, on item 5, you have the 3 bidders, microsurfacing, traffic control, including pedestrian detours. The successful bidder or the low bidder is $62,000. The bidder number 3 is $27,500. But the next item down, type 2 slurry seal, the successful bidder is $285,000, and bidder number 3 is $634,000. How can this happen?
I wish I could remember the same canned response you've gotten in the past. I can only, our contracts folks and construction management folks did scrutinize these, and the good news is that, once again, this is, we have multiple firms here that we have worked with in the past. And so all I can tell you is that the numbers have been scrutinized as far as their reliability, and that contractors do have different methods of how they put their numbers together. But I've been assured that we're confident that these are realistic numbers, and they can deliver.
Okay, and I agree that working with these people before and having them be successful is a good indicator. Any other comment from the board members? Any public comment? Okay, I'll entertain a motion, and if you don't mind, I will make it, because share the workload. I move to determine that Sierra Nevada Construction Incorporated is the lowest responsive and responsible bidder pursuant to NRS Chapter 338, and to award contractor 1314-214 2014 street maintenance project in the amount of $914,007 plus a contingency of $91,400 for a total not to exceed amount of $1,005,407 to be funded from the Street Maintenance Fund Street Repairs Account as provided in fiscal year 2014-2015 budget.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Any public comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Next item on the agenda is F3 for possible action to adopt a resolution authorizing the filing of an application for a Federal Transit Administration Nevada NDOT grant under 49 USC Chapter 53.
Thank you. Now that CAMPO has acted to allocate the available FTA Section 5310 funds, and a portion of those funds have been allocated to the Carson City RTC for Jack Transit Service. The Carson City RTC staff, meaning us at this table, will be submitting the documentation to the Nevada Department of Transportation to get all the funding moving. So each of the two applicants, the fire department and RTC, will both have to submit these documents. And now that CAMPO is aware of that, we're asking you to take this action to authorize the signing of the appropriate documents.
Commissioner comments, public comment?
I have a quick question.
Go ahead.
So it just for my information, this really couldn't have happened, this action item could not take place had CAMPO not done the other thing. Is that right?
Well, we could have done this last month in the hopes that CAMPO would award money to the Carson City RTC. And the other option is what we're doing, is that now that we know that there's money, we should probably sign these documents so we could turn them in. So could have gone either way.
Entertain a motion.
I'll make it this time for you. I move to adopt a resolution authorizing the filing of an application for the Federal Transit Administration Nevada Department of Transportation grant under 49 USC Chapter 53, and to authorize the RTC chair to sign the Special Selection 13C Warranty Opinion of Council and the FTA Fiscal Year 2014 Certifications and Assurances section of the RTC application for 5310 funds.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any comments?
Yeah, I love these actions. If you're the public, with all these acronyms and things in here, it's like, I'm used to planning commission where the terms are, people in the audience understand. So this is like, it's like an eternal motion here. So that's my only comment.
Okay, I'll take a stab at it. Transportation grant under 49 USC Chapter 53. That is a section of law. USC stands for U.S. Code. To authorize the Regional Transportation Commission Chair to sign Special Section 13C Warranty Option of Council. I have no idea what that is.
Opinion of council.
And the FTA fiscal year, what's the FTA, Federal
Federal Transit Administration, and the fiscal year is a federal fiscal year, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and so the Special Section 13 Warranty Option of Council is a document?
Yes, that's a document that's part of the application.
Okay, do you know what you're voting on?
No, I understand that. It's just that
Okay.
I'm used to planning commission for 13 years there, so I'm learning.
We don't want to hear how you did it in California either.
I know.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It carries. We'll get into personal opinions later. F4, for possible action to appoint a member of the RTC, Regional Transportation Commission, to serve on the Tahoe Transportation District, TTD, Board of Directors.
Okay. The City of Carson City has a voting seat on the Tahoe Transportation District Board of Directors. Previously, Supervisor Shelley Aldine served in that role, and I was her alternate, and I attended many of those meetings. A couple of years ago, Jim Mallory, who was at the time Vice Chair of the RTC, was appointed by the RTC to attend those meetings. He did so, and then he has since resigned his position at RTC and therefore the Tahoe Transportation District. And we were informed by the Tahoe Transportation District that that their requirements are that not only does the primary member of Carson City need to be from Carson City, it must be a member of the Carson City Board of Supervisors. So, given that, we went to the Carson City Board of Supervisors and we had them take action to appoint whomever is the sitting chair of the Carson City RTC as the official member of the Tahoe Transportation District. So currently, that's Mr. John McKenna, Supervisor McKenna, who is our chair. That prevents further action to be required in the future by the Board of Supervisors, because by law, the chair of the RTC always has to be a member of the Board of Supervisors. So in the future, should Supervisor McKenna someday not be the chair, whomever is the chair will automatically become the TTD member. However, the TTD member does not personally need to attend the meetings. They can have an alternate attend in their place, and the TTD would prefer that the alternate actually be named. So the intent of this action is to have the Carson City RTC appoint one of the other members, obviously not Chairman McKenna, as the alternate to the Tahoe Transportation District, who can attend those meetings as his official representative.
Have you discussed this with anyone, or should we appoint somebody that's not here?
You do as you wish, of course. It's up to you folks, of course.
Patrick, you said in the past that you were the alternate.
That is correct.
And is the TTD saying that the alternate has to be a member of the RTC, or?
No, that is not the case. The TTD does not have requirements as to who can be the alternate. However, I found after about 5.5 years of serving as the alternate and the person that actually went to the meetings that it put me as a staff member in a difficult position many times, because the people that I work with are my colleagues in a similar position to me, staffing a board, and to be on a board overseeing your colleagues that you're trying to work with was not an easy position to be put in many times. So it was frankly our desire to have an RTC member be that as a and it is consistent with what a lot of other agencies that are represented on the TTD do as well. They are generally elected or appointed officials and not members of staff like myself. Not that it never happens, but that is consistent.
Given we're short, how soon does this have to happen? Unless one of these two gentlemen step up.
The sooner, the sooner the better. As far as I'm concerned, I've been monitoring the activities of the TTD since Commissioner Mallory stopped attending, and I will admit that when Mr. Kimbrough applied for the position as an RTC member, I noted his experience up at Lake Tahoe with the with the hope that he would volunteer in some way. He hasn't jumped up yet, but I still have my hopes.
So do I.
Any interest, or do you want to shine it on?
Well, let me speak to that. I actually went to the TTD meeting, it was before this meeting, as a pseudo representative. And I know about a third of the people on the TTD, and the action item was for the corridor of Highway 28, which I'd worked on for over 30 years, in about 1 billion meetings. And they finally got it kind of squared away for a number of good reasons. But the chairman, Steve Teixeira, I've known since probably 35 years, and the chairman of the staff I've known when he was on with TRPA for years. So I have the familiarity with the projects, the turf and everything, so I don't mind going to those with the understanding that I got to keep John enlightened to anything that might be of interest to Carson City. But they're doing a lot of success stories right now with a lot of money being invested in the lake, and there's no place to give a staff report, not a staff report, but a report on that. So maybe in the future that could be an agenda item so that I could report on some of their
Commissioner
things.
Mallory found a way to do it.
Did he?
He was doing it.
Because
anyone correct me if you know. I think he was doing it under commission comments.
Maybe just under that.
Yeah, under item H, I believe. So he was doing
we
that.
could add it to the agenda as an item too.
Yeah, we could certainly.
Yeah, my only concern is that Mark realizes he has to drive up to the lake. It's time commitment. Meetings are long, but if you've been there.
Yeah, happened Friday mornings, once a month. I got to go to Tees and get a burrito when I was done.
The scenery is really nice.
Yeah, well, you're actually looking at Lake Tahoe while you're having the meeting if you pick the right seat. Yeah, there is a weldy bit of information, but actually I've been involved with the lake for almost 30 years, so.
I move to appoint Mark Kimbrough of the Regional Transportation Committee to serve on the Tahoe Transportation District Board of Directors as an alternate to the chair.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any comment, Mark? Any public comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It carries. Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
Next item on the agenda is F5, possible action of an expansion to the jump around in Carson's transit system.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, this is I don't know, this is a momentous time for me personally here. I've been here over 8 years now, and this is the first time I've been in front of this board many times regarding the Jack Transit System. This is the first time I've been here regarding a potential expansion of service. The Jack Transit System has been running the same amount of service since its inception in 2005, which predates me. We recently completed a short-range transit system development plan, which looked at alternative options for potential expanding the system, including evening service, additional routes, additional days of service, several different options. As was reported at the previous meeting, the recommended improvement to the service, if it could be afforded, would be into the evening on weekdays. That has been consistently the most requested service expansion since the system began, as was previously reported to this board. And additionally, at the previous meeting, we did have some folks attend representing two primary groups. One is members of the disabled community, which would like the ability to travel more, and also we had many representatives of the staff and students of the Western Nevada College, who discussed their need for being able to get home after class on weekday evenings, because there are a lot of classes in the evening at WNC. At the conclusion of that last meeting, the transit plan was adopted, and the staff was directed at the end of that meeting to go and look at the options, to discuss with WNC further, to develop further cost estimates for what it would take to expand the service, and to bring something back. So that's precisely what I'm doing. What we looked at was primarily for evening service. I did talk specifically to a member of the administration of the Western Nevada College further regarding their class schedules and when classes get done, and indeed they have multiple classes that get done at 8 and 9 and 9:45 in the evening, and they do have issues with people that can get to school and don't have a way back, and I won't repeat what all the comments were last month from the members of the audience, but they definitely do see a need there. And the member of the administration, Mr. Kinkella, that I spoke to, is a dean of student services. He did reinforce the comments that were provided here by members of the public. We looked at the options, and basically, in order to serve that potential ridership, you'd have to provide service for an additional 4 hours to 10:30 in the evening. One way you could do that, which is what we looked at in the transit development plan, would be to actually continue running the system until 10:30 in the evening, all 4 routes. But that is a relatively expensive option, in that you do increase the amount of vehicle hours by about 20 a day at the cost of $45 to $50 per hour, and it would take a toll on our vehicles. We'd have to increase our vehicle replacement process, replace vehicles more often. We wouldn't need any more vehicles, but they would wear out sooner. So it is quite an undertaking if you were to do that. What we did was was before you is a revised option for how to expand the service. What we found was that, particularly in the case of WNC, the getting there is done by 7:30. There aren't classes that start after that. So what we determined would be useful to serve that clientele and the rest of the city would be to extend the entire system by only 1 hour from 6:30 to 7:30. And that wouldn't just help WNC, that would help anybody going anywhere to a job or what have you, for any reason. But then after 7:30, instead of having, for example, 5 buses on the road, 4 for the routes and 1 for the disabled folks, we would only have 2 buses on the road. One of them would be transporting students primarily from WNC on their return journey home, and the other bus would be serving only disabled individuals. You can't put service in for ambulatory, people who can walk and get around and are not disabled without serving the disabled community as well. So what that would do is that it would increase service. It would only be on weekdays. After actually I talked to DD4 Master further, and she helpfully pointed out, hey, I don't think they've got school on Friday nights, and indeed I confirm that is correct. So what we'd be doing is we'd expand the entire system every weekday until 7:30 p.m. We'd have a vehicle serving WNC clients, riders, but only on Mondays through Thursdays when school's in session. We're not going to be up there during Christmas break or spring break or what have you. But the vehicle for the disabled folks, we don't want to have that coming and going with a school calendar. So that would be out there up to 10:30 in the evening on weeknights only. Having said that, that is a call-ahead reservation service. So, for example, if you need to call the day before, if nobody calls on Tuesday to travel on Wednesday evening, we're not going to waste money having a bus out there if nobody called the day before. If people did call and we've got people riding until 10 at night, then wonderful, we'll do that. But we will only operate as necessary for the disabled community, and it'll be the same certified disabled folks. Now, the cost of this is I don't know if I put it in here, but the total cost of this is approximately $130,000. Thank you. Oh, that's the other option. The total cost is I think it's about $130,000, but the number that you need to know is what is the annual local cost needed. And what's included here is the $60,000. That's the increase in local money needed to run the service. Most of the cost will be covered by federal funds and fares, but we need additional local funds to do this. Currently, the annual transfer from the general fund to the transit fund, which provides a local cost, is $350,000 a year. So if this service is to be implemented, there will be an increase going forward of additional funds that are required. So what is being done is this item is on this agenda, and we also have a pending item on the Carson City Board of Supervisors agenda for next week, Thursday. So the approach that we're taking is we're seeking action from the RTC to approve the proposed expansion of service, but we would not take any actions to actually implement it. We're only going to wait about a week until next week, Thursday, when I will go before the Carson City Board of Supervisors, inform them of our plans, and seek their commitment for an increased level of funding in the future. We don't need any additional funding during this fiscal year because, frankly, we had a fund balance at the end of the last year that was about twice this amount. We're okay with fund reserves till the end of the fiscal year, but we need the City Board of Supervisors to commit to the additional funding for next year because we don't want to implement a system and then run out of money and cancel it. The only other caveat I want to make sure that I bring up is that while interest has been expressed in evening service for years, and WNC has expressed interest, disabled individuals have, and we are trying to meet the needs, we don't know exactly how many people will ride. The good thing about this is that it is really quite flexible in that if we implement this service, And 6 months from now, we figure out that while many people at WNC said they'd ride and they really didn't, it can be rolled back. We're not making any huge capital investment. It's on the same route, same bus stops, same bus shelters. They're already there. So we do have the ability to implement this service and monitor it and, put up posters at the college and inform our disabled folks that it's available and push the service, make sure everybody knows it's available. But at the same time, monitor it and see how it's going. We're not in the business of running buses that are empty, and we have no desire to do so. So while we are hopeful for the service, it's something that we would closely monitor to make sure that we are running an efficient and effective service. That's the end of the monologue.
Questions?
Yeah, actually, it'd be nice if you got WNC to use it or lose it campaign or something with the buses, and to promote it themselves, because that's part of their institution to promote that type of transportation.
I don't have any commitment in writing, but they have been very approachable and cooperative, and I'd be very hopeful that they would indeed work with us to get the word out and make sure people know it's available.
I think that's a great solution, to do a pilot to see how it works, and put it on them.
And
They were here to ask, so if the Board of Supervisors are willing to give the money up, then they really have a responsibility to make, use it or lose it kind of deal.
well, right, and we do like the idea of giving disabled folks a little more, more ability to be mobile, because as we heard at our last meetings, a lot of disabled folks, if they don't do something by 6:30, they're out of luck. So it is hopefully a benefit to them as well.
So the Fed money, we're fairly sure about getting it, even with this. So what happens if in May we're doing this and they're going to tell us, no, you can't have it, or?
That'll be just rolled into the risk that this is assumed with all federal money going forward. Just so you're aware, literally this week we executed the federal. No, so
It's a bad term.
sorry, that's actually what it's called. You're executing an agreement, as in we're agreeing to of additional monies. Just to give you a little bit of perspective on our federal money, we still have money left from the 3 previous years' grants, and this federal fiscal year's grant. We haven't even needed it until now, even though there's only, a month and a half left in the fiscal year, and that was $925,000 more of money. So we relatively have it coming out of our ears.
You have money that you can spend right now?
Absolutely. We've got more money than we can spend right now.
Could we enter into a contract with the bus company to provide the buses with this federal money, or?
Well, what is already occurring is that we provide service, and we hire a contractor to drive buses owned by the city. We would need to, it'll just be an expansion of the service that we already provide. So the same company will be driving the same buses just for longer hours, and we'll be reimbursed with federal funds.
My question was more towards the point of, are we going to lose this $900,000 if we don't spend it?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, in fact, they tell you you've got 3 years to use it or not, and frankly, we just finished using one that was 4 years old last month.
Okay.
And there were no ramifications, and all's well. And
So your plan is to take this to the supervisors and ask them if they want to put up money for 2 functions. One function is transportation at WNC at night during the school year, and the second one is to expand the on-call bus service for those with special needs to night service also.
Yes, that is correct, and beyond that, additional 1 hour of service for everybody. 1 hour of service will go, the whole system will run for another hour, and then after that, it'll transition to 2 things, WNC and service for disabled folks, complimentary paratransit service.
And to do both of these is going to cost the city general fund $60,000 a year, or at least $60,000 for the next year. That can't be used as a match or offset with other funds or anything like that?
That is after the match and the offset. The federal funds actually are greater than the $60,000. This is already less than half of the cost of the expansion.
So by this commission approving this tonight, all we're really doing is saying, we want to do it, and then the decision will be made by the supervisors.
That is correct. We want to make sure that we have that commitment of funds into the future, and then once we have that commitment of funds, we will move to implement, relatively immediately. School starts August 25th. There's nothing operationally stopping us from doing it. We've already mentally thought of issues like changing maps and schedules, informing folks. We've already entered they're only informal negotiations, nothing's in writing with our contractor. Our contractor is already, it already looks like they are willing to accept a lower hourly rate for the additional hours. I was looking for 5, they gave me 3, but they want to be part of this as well. So you got to drive a hard bargain, right?
Anything else from the commission? Public comment? Okay, just,
I've got a question.
okay, go ahead.
You alluded to this, Patrick, and so if this gets, are you going to implement anyway, or are you going to implement if you get the commitment from the BOS?
We will only implement if we get the commitment from the BOS. If we don't, I'll come back to you guys and talk about what the next step is. But if we get the commitment from the Board of Supervisors, then we will implement immediately.
And the other thing, I know you talked about it, and Commissioner Mark talked about it too, is the monitoring of usage. And I love the idea of use it or lose it, but also in regards to the vans for the disabled, so you know a day in advance if someone calls the schedule. And so is there a cutoff? They have to call by 5 o'clock tonight in order to
Yes.
schedule for something tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, there is a cutoff. So yeah, the good thing is that if we determine that there's no one scheduled to ride after 8:30 at night, then that driver will be told, you're done at 8:30, and we're not paying you, and we're not spending any more money past 8:30. However, if you got ride, and that's the nice thing about it, is that you're only going to pay for what you actually use for the disabled community. Just like when we had during the fair, we did run the full service, and the regular buses were running, but you only needed to use the disabled vehicles if there was someone to move.
So this figure of $60,000, is that anticipating running, well, it includes all the routes 1 extra hour. And then it also, are you anticipating running the disabled every day?
Yes.
Every night for those 4 hours?
Yes, yeah.
Or 5 hours
For
or whatever.
budgeting purposes, to make sure that we're conservative, we don't short sell ourselves. The basic math is for that first hour, you'd have 5 vehicles out, 4 fixed route, 1 paratransit. And then for the following 3 hours, you'd have 2 vehicles out. So that's 6 more hours, so you have 11 vehicle hours per weekday in these calculations. And it's possible that you're not out there for 3 hours on your disabled bus, but we don't want to short ourselves.
Public comment. Entertain a motion.
There's no public.
Entertain a motion, or I'll make one, depending on what.
I'll make a motion for you. We want to keep you on track here. I move to approve an expansion? I move to approve an expansion to jump around Carson Transit System by providing service in evening hours, and request the Carson City Board of Supervisors to authorize additional funding to the transit fund to support this service.
Comment, my only comment would be, this was brought to us by many people last meeting, And they had a group together, and they were diverse. Any other comments? Public comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It carries. Patrick, next item on the agenda is the G's Street Operations Report, Project Status Report, future agenda items. Someplace in there, I would like you to report upon the fair.
Certainly so, sir. I'll just note under G1, there's under the pavement management that it shows specifically what I was speaking about before about the 1,366 blocks of sealant applied around town. That was like I mentioned previously, that was the precursor to the slurry program that's coming up. I'll just squeeze the fair in after that because it was an operational thing. We did a lot of busing during the fair, and I can tell you that it really went quite well. We had we added service to Route 3 because luckily the Casino Fandango, which we very much appreciate the participation of, provided parking, which is on a stop on Route 3, and Fuji Park is also on a stop on Route 3. So Route 3 ran and carried more people than normal, and we augmented that with additional vehicles on the route. The jack vehicles over the 5 days of the fair transported over 9,000 people between those points. And in addition to that, we did have one Amador Stage Lines vehicle that was rented for 8 hours each evening for each of the 5 nights. They transported over 3,000 people on one bus in 5 evenings, and we were very happy to have them because, frankly, there were times we were running 4 to 5 buses, and it was good to have Amador come and clear out the queue. It went, we believe, very smoothly. We only had a couple of a very minor call for, hey, you need another bus here or there. We think we learned from the experience, and if the event happens again next year, we'll be better for it because we'll use the experience we had this year.
Who paid for it?
I can tell you that the fair fund actually paid for the Amador vehicle, which was, and while it was several $1,000s, we think it was worth every penny. They provided wonderful service. The remainder of the service, including the expanded hours on the regular jack service, were paid for with regular transit funds. The good news is that once again, after the federal funds are applied, we believe that the transit fund local share of the cost will be in the $5,000 to $6,000 range. We know what the contractor cost is, but the fuel and maintenance and other charges are not as readily available to us.
Anything else in the G's?
Oh, yes. But, and finally, I'll just tell you that the service that we provided during the fair was far exceeding anything we'd ever undertaken before as a transit system. And maintenance was hopping, and we very much appreciate their assistance. In the G's, I'll just mention that the Vista Grande project, I think we'll be able to take this off shortly. The contractor's still out there, but from a transportation perspective, it's all good. And we do have new sidewalks there and frontage improvements, and it's a wonderful thing. There was already a story about the east-west transmission, water transmission main in the newspaper. That contract was recently awarded by the Carson City Board of Supervisors. But the reason why it's here is because it will have an impact on transportation. The details are still being figured out regarding both schedule and traffic control that's going to occur. But the public will be impacted from a transportation perspective because the water main does include going down Solomon between Robinson and the east side of Mills Park. And of course, we know that school starts next week, so there will be much more information given out to the public. And I can tell you that we are definitely talking to the school district, and I personally was talking to their director of operations about it this afternoon.
I understand that 2 lanes, the 2 east lanes of Solomon will be closed, and the 2 the 2 west lanes of Solomon will be closed and the 2 east lanes will be open, or?
As I said, the plans are still being determined. And I won't commit to either because there are options to be considered by people like construction management engineers and contractors who need to determine exactly what the best approach is. Time of day issues.
And you've been through the first day of school before up in Eagle Valley, so I guess you know what the.
Well, and unfortunately, a few months ago, I was on the Ask Joe segment of Channel 4 of why isn't there a light at Solomon and Robinson, because it's as bad as it is. And the answer is that it's only bad for a short period of time. However, this will have an impact, and while it's yet to be determined, we want the public to be aware. Let's see, there's a good one. The East Fifth Street Pedestrian Improvements Project, which is a CDBG and FTA-funded sidewalk project by the Frost Yasmer Estates on the south side of Fifth Street between Roop and Solomon. The bid's open at the end of August, and we'll have it before you next month to award, presuming all goes well, of course. And other than that, our engineers and designers are working on several other sidewalk projects on William Street, out by the Western Nevada College, Long Street, and I'll just add that yesterday, thanks to what CAMPO member Van Havel shared, that extension of the federal funds, NDOT finally felt secure enough to send out the letters officially in writing saying that yes, you have been awarded Transportation Alternative Program funds. So we did get a letter saying that we have been awarded $650,000 to extend the multi-use path along the freeway. So we will now work towards getting an agreement with NDOT on that. And as well, our Safe Routes to School coordinator, Courtney Bloomer, who works in the health department, she was also notified officially of the funding, which is also very positive.
G3 for me, we need to add the Carson Street pedestrian that the lady requested us to add during the CAMPO meeting.
Yes.
Also, I ask that Clear Creek be put on the RTC agenda for either September or October. That's an issue that we're going to have to deal with.
Yes, if you don't mind, I'm just going to make sure I don't have any other. If I don't have any other items, to make sure that I reference as well. Other items that will be coming before in the future, we actually have another project that is developing. We added this list on Nye Lane. It's CDBG funds as well. They're moving forward as fast as we can on Nye between Northgate and Hot Springs. And as well, it's not going to be, I don't believe it's going to be September, potentially October. The plans are being developed for the projects that are being funded by the 8 cent sales tax increase, including the downtown corridor project. And it has been determined as we move forward through this public process that the plans for the downtown project we will be bringing them to the RTC for review processes. So we'll just want to make you aware of that'll be coming in the future as well.
I'm not being familiar with the agenda for this group. Would it be appropriate that somebody comes next time to explain how much money was spent and all of the time and work that just got done because of this little 200-year flood that just occurred? Is that part of what comes to this commission? How that, I mean, I was so impressed that, because I was in the middle of that.
Yeah, well, it might be, I don't know if it's specifically a transportation item. I don't know if the Board of Supervisors would be interested as a general stormwater function.
Well, we're the ones who approved maintenance of Sierra Vista Lane, and he's talking about Sierra Vista Lane quite a bit, so. Also Carson River Road, but I went out and did Sierra Vista Lane last night, and there were feet of mud along the side of the road that had been cleared off. I had residents out there calling me, telling me how impressed they were that the city crews were on the scene early and they had moved, one gentleman told me, 60 dump trucks of mud. I don't know if that was true or not, but they moved a lot of mud. At the time I was driving out there, going down Carson River Road at 5 o'clock at night, there was a street sweeper still sweeping that street, and there was mud where the city had sheared it off like the snowplows do, packed up under somebody's mailbox all the way to the top, to the bottom of the mailbox from the street. So that's how much mud came down the side of Prison Hill.
Channel 8 was there yesterday too, the mic in the guy's face.
Yeah, I understand.
But I didn't know if that's part of the function or not, because I mean, this was like World War II. I had to travel around the city a lot just to get home, and there were at least 4 different fronts, the dump trucks, staff, loaders, and all these people were out taking care of business like now. They weren't,
Yeah, well,
I mean, it was very impressive how they hit it.
I'm sure that we'd be happy to report, and I could have either Darren or Rob Fellows was the one that was actually on TV. I understand, I missed him, but he's a chief stormwater engineer, and be happy to report, because obviously it doesn't impact transportation, because even I got calls for, my road is blocked. So be happy to report some.
Patrick, one other question. I'm going to kind of back up. I asked you a question earlier when we were on one of the items in regards to the microsurfacing. Last year on 5th Street, when they started that project, but they could not finish with the microsurfacing. Can you find out if it was the same contractor that we just awarded? Reason being is I'd like to know is if in that bid that was awarded to that contractor to do that 5th Street portion, if, since they didn't finish the microsurfacing, was that amount of the bid pulled back or held back?
Yeah, actually, I can answer that one now. Yes,
Okay.
indeed, that was, that was removed from the contract, and frankly, it worked out for better, for worse. The grant fund that we had for that was 100% federal grant, turned out to be insufficient to pay for the micropaving anyway. So basically, the removal of the micropaving from the contract, which they were not paid for, actually ended up having the money match the grant funds that were available.
It's a public works item, but it'd be interesting to this group. Where did you change the speed limits?
Well, thank you for sharing that. Chairman McKenna is aware that we have done a review of speed limits in the city, mostly on arterial and collector streets, and there are some speed limit changes that are pending. I believe they're going to be starting tomorrow, presuming we don't have any more flooding in the lake. Over the next 2 weeks, there will be several changes made to speed limits. They are slight increases in the speed limits where they were deemed to be unreasonably low. We did a review citywide. We included engineering, planning, operations, law enforcement, the fire chief, the like. We got a lot of input. And a couple examples of where it's going to change is Carson Street in front of the mall between Stewart Street and 10th Street. Will go from 25 to 35 miles an hour. Colorado Street is going to go from 25 to 30 miles an hour for only between Solomon and Solomon to the west. And a portion of 5th Street will have an increase between Stewart and Solomon from 25 to 30 miles an hour.
I've just got used to driving 25 miles an hour for the last 2.5 years.
Well, we believe these are reasonable speeds. They're on arterial and collector streets, and they are 5 to 10 mile per hour increases. And like I said, we did have significant input from both law enforcement and emergency services as well.
Anything else from anyone? Any public comment? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.